And hi, Ziggy. And I did want to ask you because I was saying, because we've been watching each other for a little while,
Hmm.
and now finally we get to connect. But I love the way that your lives are so conversational. And that's what I was really excited to do today, just like the back and forth,
Yeah,
talking about
yeah,
all this.
yeah.
And one thing that I'm really interested to hear about, because I know that you work for the DNC and that you worked the Harris campaign, a Biden
Hmm.
campaign as well, right?
Yes.
So you have like this amazing background because I don't know anything about like the actual nuts and bolts of traditional politics, which is what I'm learning, which is one of the reasons why I love Substack so much and the people that you could connect with.
Right, right. So you wanted to hear a bit more about that? Like
Yes,
my
yes, please.
Okay. Cool. So yeah, so I'm happy to be here again. I appreciate you, really appreciate you inviting me on. It's so great to finally talk to you and meet you in person. Um yeah, so I worked for the DNC back in March of 24 all the way until the election ended in November. I basically was head of IT and tech there. So I kind of managed all of the, we had to deal with onboarding everybody who came to work on the campaign. So having to onboard all their equipment, their set up their MacBooks and their equipment and make sure that we had everything safe as far as like cybersecurity and all of that because the election did get hacked back
Mm,
in 2016. So, you want to make sure we're not doing that again. And I think for the most part, things went really well.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, so working on the campaign is not the same as actually like being, in the actual cabinet. But, you do get to see a lot of things. A lot of the people there are actually younger, which I found like really surprising, but I didn't realize people actually move across the nation to work on these campaigns. Like there's people that just bounce from campaign to campaign in different states, local campaigns and presidential campaigns and things like that. So this was my first time. Um, but you got to kind of learn a lot about, even though I wasn't there, at the White House, even though I wasn't there with Biden or Harris or, didn't see them every day, it's like really you get a lot of insight into how everything works and how the people actually think. You get to see the consultants and things like that. And so, yeah, actually, like it was such an amazing experience. But I always say it's also um, really showed me how the DNC has a lot of work to do,
Yeah. And
basically. So,
yes, and that is actually one thing that I wanted to ask you about because you have that background. Because there's a lot of talk, and everybody always talks about the third party that we need, because obviously I've I've known this for a long time, or at least I had a very strong feeling. And the more that I started researching about the corporate Democrats, they're pretty much it's a uniparty situation because it's under the corporatocracy, is what I call it. And what ended up happening, I talk about that a lot on my platform. I've been obsessed with it for decades. And now people are talking my language because of how these things are coming to a head now in our society, right? Before people were looking at me like I was from Mars. What are you
right.
talking about? You know what I mean? It's like, why are you so obsessed with this? Like, let it go. I'm like, no,
Uh
man, I'm
huh.
telling you, we're going to end up in dire straits. So
Here we
for
are.
a long time, I know, right? But for a long time, right? Like we know, everybody knows this, and we're just kind of going through the motions, and we're still always voting for the lesser evil. Now, I hear from people about conversations that I've had with other people on Substack that getting a new party off the ground is really difficult. And we see that also with the other, smaller parties that we have that never get anywhere and they just end up
Right.
splitting the vote. Like, what do you have to do? I know that a lot of people say that it starts locally, but is there a multi-pronged situation, like thing that has to be done in order? Because you're right, we don't have much time at all. You said that in your last slide. You're like, we're
Yeah.
very late.
Yeah. This is it. I don't know. I'm asking the
Yeah.
same thing because it's like, I feel like it has to happen. Democracy is not going to sustain under a two-party system any longer. Like we've came to the head, you know? And so we have to do something different. And I know it takes an enormous amount of time and, work to build a new party. I mean, how long did it take for Republicans and Democrats to become established? So I'm sure there's a huge undertaking, but what I just believe wholeheartedly, like I'm so passionate about it is that now is the time to start building that. Now is the time where we have the momentum, where we have people who are, finally waking up and seeing the situation that we're in. And I just feel like this is the time that, this is a time that's galvanizing people. And so, what better time than now in this like revolutionary type moment to use this energy to start building it? I don't know how we do that, but
I know.
like, I'm ready to come together and just start doing it, whether that's building on the Working Families Party or, building something completely new. But two parties is just not going to work for the long term. And we've got to worry about our future and our kids. And, it can't continue like this. Something has to change.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because I keep thinking in terms of technology and the way that we're all connected and that we can connect is a blessing and a curse. We all know this,
Yes.
right? Of course. But the blessing part of it, I mean, things just travel like a brush fire. And my platform with the third estate, like what the third estate is, and anybody who doesn't know, it's a term that actually became popular during the French Revolution. We all know what happened with the French Revolution. So one of the things, though, is the way that they were able to disseminate information was through pamphlets. And that was the way that they ended up building like that underground French resistance. And like, if you think about our internet and our platforms at this moment being like those pamphlets, I mean, talk about what a difference in the speed of getting information across. I mean, there's a lot of muck involved as well.
Right.
So you have to be very discerning and have like media literacy. So that's an issue. So that's also something that could
Hmm.
be, yeah, so that's a problem. But so far from what I'm seeing, the way that we're connecting, it's happening so exponentially fast. We probably have to figure out an alternative platform, and I don't know how that's going to be. Like with the computer people, like you're in IT, right? Like people that
Yeah.
know how to build, software engineers, like stuff like that. Like this is me thinking like 100,000 steps ahead, probably,
No,
but it's
I've been
something that's
thinking about
crossing
it
my
too.
mind.
Like,
It's
how could I build something?
right
But
because
yeah,
we're going to need
we're
you
going to.
guys.
Hmm.
Yeah, because and I don't know exactly. Do you remember? You're probably way younger than me, but I don't know if you remember the Christian Slater movie, Pump Up the Volume. Have you ever
I've
seen
never
it?
watched it. Uh-uh.
Oh God, you gotta watch it. Okay, it's totally the '90s, and basically what he did, he was just like a shortwave radio, but he was very subversive, and he was very, like revolutionary, and it was supposed to be like, it was like Gen X themed kind of angst, type of thing, but it's that situation where like the FCC came after him. It was like this whole thing. So I feel like we have to build like some sort of pump up the volume, like
So,
some
Christian
network
Slater.
at some point, right? Yeah, because I'm
Yeah.
telling you, you got to watch it. You're gonna die laughing when you see
Oh my
why I
gosh.
reference it. But yeah, but seriously, I mean that's one of the things I worry about because even with TikTok, I have TikTok and I was on there for a little bit, but it's making me uncomfortable, especially with the
Hmm.
changeover that's going to happen pretty soon in March, right? Is it
Yeah,
March? I think.
I
So
think
I got to get
so.
off of there. I haven't really posted much on there. Maybe I'll do a couple like farewell posts, like, "Hey
Right.
guys, I'm leaving here. I'm going to be over here,"
Promote your
because it's like,
Substack. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, because I'm just kind of like, I don't know. I haven't been on there in months. Have you been on TikTok at all? Or do you
Mhm.
have one? You
Yeah,
have
I
one
just
too?
actually I do, and I just posted a couple days ago, and I haven't in
Yeah.
probably, like, 2 months before that, but,
Uh,
you reminded me that I forgot about the whole TikTok thing, so, yeah, it's like, ugh, it
yeah.
sucks because I
That's
was
the
like, "I
only
need to get back
thing.
on there and get active," and then I'm like, "No,
Yes. And
it's
it's
gonna have to
great
go."
because I met such great people on TikTok too. Like I
Yeah,
have
I
I'm
know,
mutuals with
same.
like some people that are great, but I don't know. This whole thing is just making me. I don't think I'm, especially when the changeover happens and they switch ownership. I'm like,
No,
yeah,
absolutely not. They've
yeah,
got enough
yeah.
of our information, they don't need any more.
For real. I know, for real.
Yeah.
But yeah, but another thing that I was saying to you that I want to share with the audience as well, and it looks like some other people joined us as well. Thank you guys so much for spending your evening with us. Um Before we hopped on, I asked oh my god, I lost my train of thought. This happens to me all the time. Every time I start to think, I like go into like another direction and then forget it. Oh, that's what it was. I caught it. I love the way that you do your lives because they're very conversational like this, like how we're doing. And it's very like casual, very thoughtful, and you're always like, these cohesive thoughts that you have branch into one thing into another. And I love your style because it's like you're not like negative or sensationalizing or like, one of those doomsday type of things like
Mhm.
for clicks, but you're also
I
like
can't
very
stand that.
realistic. I know, me too. It drives me crazy. And
Yeah.
and we talked about before too, I don't like the toxic positivity. I mean, of course, you don't want to be like super like an alarmist, but at the same time, the reality of the situation is the reality of the situation, especially now.
Right.
This past week, what we've seen, past couple weeks, dude, it's insane. And now that we're
Yeah.
seeing all of this stuff, the ICE activity, I was just watching in Minnesota, like how much it's being ramped up. And there is one creator, Jolly Good Ginger. You probably know him, right?
Yeah,
Like you
yeah,
probably
yeah,
seen him. I
Jolly.
love him.
Mhm.
So he's in Minnesota right now. So
Mhm.
he's like, whatever you're seeing on TV or like on platforms and stuff like that, he's like, it's 100 times worse, like on the ground. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
lord. And they're knocking and going door to door at people's houses. I
Mhm.
mean, it is absolutely terrifying. And you're seeing people film in their own houses. It literally is Gestapo territory. And one thing that I'd like to share, and I don't know if you've heard this before from me when I've talked before, like on other lives, my family's from Italy. And I'm first generation, me and my siblings, my cousins that are here in America are first generation born here. So my parents are from their aunts, uncles, and everything. And my grandmother and my grandfather went through Mussolini, World War II, the Depression, all those things. And I remember, see, growing up like with Italian people, especially them, they don't sugarcoat anything in front of the kids. I think they could have, I think within reason, but for the most part, there were things that we heard that probably shouldn't have at
Right.
7, 8 years old, you know what I mean? But we remember that being drilled into our heads, like how lucky we were. And I think that might have formed my perspective of our country because I think one of the things that you mentioned in your last slide is because somebody made a comment, I can't believe that there's not more people in the streets like right now, which I think we're going to get there. But right now, it's probably a whole bunch of things happening at once because I feel it too. Like we're scared. I
Yeah.
mean, how can you not be? We're worried. This is something we've never gone through before. We don't know how it's going to play out. You're worried about your family and, all of these things, right? And we have no playbook for this. Like in Italy, even like right now, like when I go visit, those people, my dad tells me all the time, he's like, a boycott in America is not a boycott. You know, it's like in Italy, if they say, do not buy these tomatoes, those people are going out of business tomorrow.
Mhm.
And then when
Yeah,
I was over
exactly.
there, drop of a hat, they're like, they're totally like organizing union strikes, like all this stuff. Of course, they have a totally different system, and they're like, say, health insurance is not tied to their job, right? Like, they don't have that like we do. So they're just like, they just go out, they pop off like that.
Mhm.
Totally different. And I know other countries like that around the world are like that too. But we also have that like American exceptionalism, right? Like that we grew up
Mhm.
with. And it has been here for generations now.
Right.
And that is going to be very jarring for a lot of people, which I could understand why some people wouldn't necessarily want to face it. But at some point, you're going to have to because it's getting to
You're
that
gonna
point
have
where it's
to.
really bad, right?
Yeah,
Like,
right.
what do you think?
Yeah, I think that, I feel like it's at a point right now where you can't ignore it. I wonder to myself, walking down the street, and I was just thinking the other day I had to go grab something at the grocery store, but you see people just like leisurely there shopping, like friends together, and I'm just kind of wondering, how are is anybody aware of what's going on? Do they not think it's that serious? Am I in the twilight zone? Like nobody's really talking about it. And that's why I love Substack so much, is because,
Hmm.
we've got this community of people who are waking up and who have been awake and who are sounding the alarm. And I just think that in this time, that's what we have to do to preserve our history, to try to like combat everything that's happening right now. Just, you know, people I encourage people to just write on Substack, write about what's happening in your local community, write about the things that your town is experiencing, because these issues are more than likely, whatever they are, whether it's electric bills going up like crazy, which is happening here in the state I'm in,
Right.
that's things like these are going to pop up in other states too. So, the more we just like have this information and preserve it, whether anybody looks at it years down the road or whether we're using it just to remember, what we were thinking in this time. I just think that since, everything is like so unprecedented right now, it's just such an important time to just really like record it all. And it's hard for me to believe that people aren't awake still, or I've got like my state is a blue state, but it seems like everybody here is MAGA. And my
Mhm.
governor, doesn't get a lot of publicity, but he is very outspoken against ICE. And I was mentioning earlier in somebody's live, but the 287G agreements, I don't know if you're aware of what those are, but the 287G agreements,
Hmm.
for those that aren't aware, are agreements where ICE and local law enforcement come together and
Mm.
work together. So proactively, my state has already put in legislation and passed a bill prohibiting 287G agreements, which means that our local law enforcement, our local police offices are not supposed to work with ICE if and when they come. And that's kind of like, I'm wondering what are the legal implications of that? What are the loopholes? Because I'm sure there are some. And we already had a case where, again, ICE has not infiltrated my state yet, but, we've got surrounding states and I'm sure they're coming.
Mm.
And, for us to tell them like not to work with local law enforcement, but there was an arrest that ICE was trying to make, and a local police department in my state helped they like called somebody to help move a trailer because the person hid under a trailer so that they wouldn't get arrested. The cops called, whoever owned the trailer or somebody to move this trailer so that ICE could capture the person. And so I'm wondering, that's not an agreement. That's not a 287G agreement because they didn't, ICE and our law enforcement did not get into an active agreement. It was just them helping them out in this specific case. My thought is I don't want our law enforcement helping them with anything, you
Right.
know? How is that going to go in the future, and what are we gonna do about those things? And those are things that I think people don't realize, like, we can kind of have a voice in, because I found out through my local ACLU that you can just attend legislation, with, congressmen and all of that, and them talking about bills that they're gonna pass in your state. You can leave public comments, you can listen via Zoom, you don't have to go in person, but it just, like,
Mm.
gives you a wealth of knowledge about, like, what's happening in your area, because, a lot of those things are also things that are happening across the nation. So it's just like really good to get involved and be in the know and just try to prepare ourselves
Right.
for what's to come, because it's really scary that states
It
are
is.
being proactive and our governors are our last line of defense.
Yeah.
So um
Yeah.
I don't know, Lisa. It's
I know.
just
It's frightening because I'm in Chicago, so and that's another thing because we have
yeah,
Pritzker, we have Brenton Johnson, and them, they're gonna throw hands. Like when it comes time to it, like that's just, right? Like and we're
yeah.
all 100% behind them. And that's one of the things too, because I'm in a blue bubble. I mean,
Yeah.
thank God, in terms of the people around me and now in terms of the National Guard, because there was that court order that barred them, they had to leave, right? And
Mhm.
obviously it's not over. They're coming back. Like for sure. There's going to be a way that he's going to wedge himself back in because he has
Mhm.
had Alfred Pritzker for years, and it's like a personal thing, probably because he has more money than him. But like who knows? Like he's got more power, he's wealthy, whatever it is. And
Yeah.
so that's like one layer. And now you've got all this stuff that has been happening, all this baggage that he's accumulated now after, like all of this insanity that he's causing from being in office. And I don't know exactly how that's gonna manifest, but I'm very worried about it, very worried about it. Um, because on the ground, I mean, there
Yeah, what
were
are you seeing right
rumors.
now in your
Yeah.
area?
Well, right now, so far, everything is is good, like where I am. And I'm in downtown a lot and in like, surrounding neighborhoods and stuff like that. So far everything's been all right. A lot of the activity was like in the South Side neighborhoods because just like we have like vibrant, like immigrant communities and a lot of like diverse like communities and stuff. And they're all over the place. But specifically they were messing around with like on the South Pilsen area, like it's a very like very vibrant, like really big Mexican immigrant uh neighborhood there, little village also. I mean, just an absolute mess. And that's what they were doing. They were camping out in front of the courthouses. So when people would go, they would be notified. Like you've heard the story, right? Like
Yeah,
they'll be like,
yeah.
"Yeah, you have to come for a hearing," and and that was fake. It was a sham, and
Mhm.
that's what was happening before months ago. My God, it seems like 1,000 years ago this happened.
I
It wasn't even that
know.
long ago. So now it's been quiet, because we don't have that situation. But I know it's going to ramp up again, and there have been rumors also, and I don't know if this is true because it's not obviously no actual news source is going to confirm this. But Brandon Johnson, now I know Daily did this, and again, it was never confirmed with a news source, but mayors have had like making deals with like our local gangs. And, because we have like very big, Latin Kings are like really huge here. That was like one thing. I'm like, and I'm thinking to myself, what kind of a mess that could be? Like if that were to happen, I mean, Jesus, I hope not, because then there's going to be people like people going to work, people are trying to like live their lives, you go to the grocery store, you're out and about, especially now that we're on the other side of winter and things are going to, it's going to get nicer out. People are going to be out and about and they're going to be,
Mm.
going to dinner, blah, blah, blah. So again, like I said in my life before, because of my mom and my grandma, when you start to catastrophize, you start to think like I try to catch myself. But at the same time, I just, these are things that I always, they're in the back of my mind, just keeping an eye on, right? I feel like
Exactly.
especially now, we have to keep an eye on things and we have to be aware of
Yeah, you have to
possibilities.
be
It doesn't
aware.
mean, it doesn't mean they're going to happen. It doesn't mean they're
Right.
saying they're going to happen and they're going to start like some conspiracy theory. But
No,
at the
but
same
just be
time,
prepared. It's
exactly.
better be safe than sorry.
So who knows
Better
in
be
terms
safe
of
than
what
sorry.
exactly, and how it's going to manifest in different cities and in different towns. I also heard, well, who was it? But I must have been listening to, it was a podcast I was listening to, that there isn't much ICE activity like in Texas or Florida. And you're like, what?
The red
Because they're
states, right?
messing. Yeah, because they're messing. Because this is not about immigration. Like we all know that. We all know the numbers. That's
Mhm.
not really, it's like just about cracking down on dissent, which is even more frightening. That's what it seems like.
Exactly. Exactly. And as you mentioned, dissent and SPM7, and we're noticing all of
Mhm.
these occurrences and events that are tied to things that they deemed, these we hear these terms being thrown out that this woman, Renee that was murdered
Right.
was a terrorist. That's a lie. But now they're investigating the wife's, whatever organization she's in with the school and that's one of
Mhm.
the things that they said they were going to go after political organizations. And then, and there's been a lot of talk lately. I don't know how you feel, but like comparing what's happening now to Germany is just
Oh,
that's the way that I see it. I feel
yeah,
that.
yeah,
That's what I feel. And there's other situations that are like what's going on right now too. But, what we're seeing is just like it's just Gestapo like. And
yeah.
to have to worry about, ICE coming to my community, ICE
Right.
fucking with my kids, ICE coming to my school, and
Oh my God.
it's just a scary thing. So for this to be like the new normal, and I hate to say that because it's not normal and I'm not normalizing it. I'm not trying to perpetuate normalcy in any way,
Right.
shape, or form. But it's in some way, I have to admit it's become normal because I am always now it's just kind of like, "Ugh, I told you so." Like, I'm pissed. I'm
Oh
pissed. I'm
yeah.
infuriated, but it's like, I told you so. Like, what else can I do? Like, I have tried so hard to warn everybody. Like, I woke the hell up and I just like, I can't wrap my head around the fact that other people aren't waking up. I can't wrap my head around the fact that we're not out in the streets like Iran right now. I can't wrap
Yeah.
my head around like you said the American exceptionalism, like the laziness that we have. It's like we've got all of the bad things combined, and then we've got this sense of superiority and
Mhm.
like we don't have to worry about these things. For me, it's like embarrassing when you see people in Italy protesting for Israel, when you see,
Yeah.
or Palestine, when you see, all of these protests that are occurring across the world right now. In Iran, we've got over 2,500 people now killed in these
Yeah.
protests, and it just keeps going up and up. And what is it going to take to just end authoritarianism? You know,
Yeah,
I,
exactly. And then,
it's
yeah, it makes me
yeah.
really worried because then that's one layer, and then you have the economic situation, which makes me think that is something that would cause like a critical mass type of a thing, because then it would be something that people would directly feel, and from all different
Like a recession,
demographics,
you
I
mean?
feel like. Yeah, recession or
Yeah.
shortages, food. I mean, I hate to say it, and it's not something that obviously I don't want to happen, but yeah, these are things that are crossing my mind. Like, is that something that is going to be caused by these dipshits that are running things right now?
I mean, I think so, and I feel like that's what all of the experts are saying right now is that that's kind of where we're headed now. Like, lately, the past week or so, I've say that, economists that I've listened to have been saying that things aren't in total turmoil, but
Mm,
I just get the sense, like, in the general scheme of things, like, we're gonna have to kinda wait it out and see how this year goes. But I feel like we're going to be in a recession. I know Russia is probably in recession right now, if not they're almost there. They're running out of funds from the war and everything. And so I just feel like if we end up in that position, I don't think we're going to be the only nation that ends up there because we've got so
mhm,
many wars going on. We've got, Eastern Europe, which is bubbling into regular Europe. And then we had the Great Depression when, right before World War II. So it's
mhm,
like, I feel like everything's kind of coming hand in hand and the powers are shifting. um, and historically, when powers start to shift, like there's a tectonic shift, and now they just announced today, like China is actually really
mhm.
doing extremely well, so well that
Yep.
this tariff thing might have actually helped push them there, and we don't have any right to be mad at that. They educated their people, and they put those things first, and here they tried to dumb us down, but
Mhm, mhm.
besides all of that, you know what I mean? Like, we are causing so much turmoil economically and all of that. And so, um, it scares me too, because if we end up in that situation, are we going to be the only ones? And how I can't imagine like a world. Yeah, it's like my mind is spinning and going down that doomsday.
Totally.
It's like, but these are
I
things
don't
that could
blame you.
actually happen. It's not hyperbolic because everything that's happened up to this point has been literally insane, but it's
Yeah,
not hyperbolic because it's happening and we're
right.
being gaslit to hell about it. So, you
Exactly.
just like it's hard, to keep
And
that balance.
that's why I think having like us congregating like this is imperative for our mental health. At least I feel
Yes.
that,
Mhm.
because thankfully, I do have people in my life that where I could talk about these things. However, what ended up getting me on Substack in the first place is a lot of people in my life, friends mostly, maybe extended family, not necessarily my immediate family is different. But extended family, friends and stuff like that were very dismissive of me, like having these conversations and bringing these things up. And I'm like, oh hell no. Like I'm
Right.
like, okay, all right. So if you want to talk about it, I'm not going to force you. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, but I needed to find an outlet, and I'm so happy that I joined here and I found this community that we're able to do this regularly, because this is
Right.
really helping me stay sane. I titled this "Parsing Through the Madness" because maybe we'll make a regular series. Maybe that's what we'll
Yeah.
call it,
Right. No, it's
because
like
there's not going to be no
digesting all this
shortage.
stuff.
Yeah,
'Cause I don't know about everybody else in the audience, but for me, like, knowing what's happening and staying
yeah,
up to things, like, yeah, it's kind of doomsday-ish, but for me, it doesn't put me in a super dark place. It just some days I have my days where I'm just like, just fuck it. Like I don't feel anything. And then I have days where I'm finally, something pisses me off again and I'm back, And
Mhm.
I feel like those days where I'm not feeling like where I'm numb or where I'm just feeling like blah, I don't even know what to say because there's so much going on and everybody's already talked about it. What's
Yeah.
I'm just like the world's on fire. What's the point? But those are like the days where I feel like something's telling me you just need to check out for a bit. You just need a break because I always hop back into it. You know what I mean? But this, I feel like,
Mhm.
also keeps me sane because I don't have a lot of people in my life that I can talk to about these things. My dad is an immigrant Trumper. Okay.
Oh.
And it's like, it drives me
Mhm.
insane. So, like,
Yeah.
I don't have
And
many
of
people.
course
So, this is like, yeah,
mm,
this is my
yeah.
outlet and having so many like-minded people here has been super helpful and just like being able to use my voice and whether people want to listen or not, that's fine. But
Yeah.
I'm here and I'm going to say whatever the hell I want to say as long
Right.
as I have the freedom to do so. So, yeah,
Exactly. And
it's
I'm
like
very
a mental
grateful for
health
that.
thing.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
And I love the communities that we're building because it's also branching out into other groups. And then you
yeah.
make like more of a, like it's like more of like a macrocosm. That's my
But that's
hope
what we
that this is
need.
where,
Yeah.
yeah,
Like we all just
exactly.
kind of like build and build and build on top of each other and within and
Exactly.
just continue spreading like all of this news because this is what we're doing here is we are the ones that are talking about the real news that's going on.
Yep.
We are trying to decipher and figure out and digest all of these topics going on and you're not seeing that in mainstream news. So, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're talking the truth, if you're speaking the truth, then what you have to say is important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, and
So
especially like with corporate media, oh my God, that's another thing too. It's been happening for a very long time that they have been at the service of like corporations and that kind of a narrative, right? Like decades it's been going on. Wow. I mean, how glaring this is now. I mean, this is
it's
preposterous. Absolutely
it's
preposterous.
wild. Yeah. And I
Did
don't
you
know if you do
oh,
you oh no, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, did you see the this actually kind of made me smile. The Jake Tapper interview with Chrissy Nome that he literally filleted her. Like she was like literally just like she looked like an absolute fool. And it's amazing to me how the right wing media ecosystem makes it like, oh, like she told him and she told him of. I'm like, what planet are you guys on? I was like,
Right,
this is
right.
I'm like, are you kidding me? Because they're still trying to like, you know, have this death grip like on their narrative. And I keep thinking that at some point it's getting to because there's people in my life that are like, these people are never going to wake up, and they're always going to double down, triple down, quadruple down. I think there's going to be those people for sure. I do see that.
Mhm.
I'm hoping, and this could be wishful thinking on my part, that that the percentage of those people that will, their brains are going to break and they're going to lose their minds. It's a smaller percentage. I hope,
Oh, yeah. I've got my finger
right?
crossed for that too.
Right? Because the only way that people are going to be able to see. There was a meme that my sister showed me the other day, and it was Nancy Reagan, and it said, I think it said something like, I'm Republican. I don't care what happens to you until it happens to me. That's what it was. Yeah, it was. Yeah. And I was like,
Mhm.
man, that's a very
Sounds
succinct
about right.
and true. Yeah.
Mhm.
So that kind of thing. So I'm thinking at some point it doesn't matter. And these people, like this regime, thinks that they're going to have so much power that it won't matter anymore, that they won't need the support of the people. Like now that they're there, that they're going to be able to do whatever the hell they want. Like I kind of get that sense.
Yeah, I get that sense too, and it doesn't make sense to me
Mm,
because they literally can't survive without us. I mean, we, the
right.
people, Black people, indigenous people, the people that, made this country,
Yep.
literally built this country from the ground up.
Yep.
Um, Mark Zuckerberg, Peter
Yep.
Thiel, those people wouldn't be anybody without the engineers, without developers, without all of the people behind the scenes. You know what I mean? They're not
Mhm.
geniuses. So
Yep.
for them to try to oust everybody that literally did everything for them, it's just spiteful because it makes no sense. They would, when
Mhm.
you're going to kick all the immigrants out, then how are you going to do anything for yourself? You can't do anything for yourself. Like you're a billionaire who refuses to do anything for yourself, and you've never done anything for yourself. So what are you
Mm,
going to do? What are you going to do when everybody's
mhm.
gone? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's just It's
It's
just so stupid. It boggles my mind. That's
ridiculous.
why I'm like, the only thing that makes sense is they must be immortal because they must have found the secret to living forever because it just makes no sense to me. That's like,
I was having a
it's
conversation
crazy.
with a friend of mine that you just reminded me because it actually made me laugh. And I was like, you know what? I don't think you're too far off because some of them, like Curtis Yarvin, from what I read, I think is quite
Someone's about to
brilliant in
die.
terms of like I think he graduated like early, went to college, like he was like a teenager, so he got his degree like very young. So he was like I think he was quite brilliant, but you know how sometimes there are people that are brilliant, but they're quite stupid in a lot of things, or
Yes,
their
yes.
hubris makes them like very like they think that they're so clever, but they actually end up, yeah,
They're
like
like
they're
out of this
they're not
world.
thinking through out of this world. And this one
Yeah.
friend, we were having this conversation. She's like, they strike me as the nerds that played Dungeons and Dragons and had like these fantasies of like taking over the world.
Oh my
As a matter of
gosh,
fact,
yes.
Palantir is from Lord of the Rings. It's actually a
Hmm.
term. I think it was like one of the
It
somebody
is.
explained this to me because I didn't realize that. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. My friend was we were just having this conversation. And she was like, think about it. She's like, these nerds that were ostracized and they didn't fit in and they had that's all it like that's what it seems like. It's like these dipshit theories or these dipshit ideas that they think. How on what planet do you think something like that is gonna work in a country like ours?
Yeah.
Like,
No, it's just like pure delusion.
oh,
Like
it's
they just
crazy.
think that they are man's, God's gift to the universe and this is what we're going to do. And this because
Yeah.
this is what I dreamt of as a child and I'm just like
It's
you're all going to suffer
nuts.
for it. Like it's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Like this, what do you say, Chris? Yeah, Yarvin because Teal is a student of Yarvin about democracy's not working anymore. And I'm like, well, who the hell are you? It's like you're sitting
Right.
here like you're just going to make all these decisions. It's like, oh no, because progress is stagnated now. So we need a CEO at the top, and we have to run countries like a corporation, dude. What? And you think
No.
people are just going to be like, okay, sure, makes sense to me. Yeah, it's nuts. Right? I'm telling
Yeah.
you. But
How
this
we
is
get
what
them
we're
out of
dealing
here.
with. Yeah, right. Because now they're there and they have this administration's ear, Palantir, all this surveillance, the flock cameras, is that what they're called? Flock cameras? Where
Hmm.
they're like putting surveillance up in all neighborhoods, like all across the country. This is nuts. This is insane.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. And then I saw something, I didn't look into it yet, but I saw something about, kinda like the same thing, but being able to tap your phones. I don't know if it was
Yeah,
stingrays are going or
I
something,
did hear
like,
this.
real.
Hmm.
I don't know exactly what it is, but,
That's another
yeah,
thing, too,
it's
which some people think it's paranoia. But what about like getting a burner phone? Like, what if you go somewhere and it's, you're out and about, say you go to a festival or something, there's a lot of people there. What if something happens? You've got your phone and they're able to do this type of scanning or whatever. I mean, it's like all of these things that you have to worry about.
yeah, you do. And I mean, it depends, that is something that you have to worry about if you're going out and protesting. If you care about that, like, yeah, it's important to, if you feel like you're going to fear for your life, if you feel like you have any reason not to bring your actual phone, yeah, getting a burner
Mhm,
phone might be the way to go, or just not bringing a phone at all if if you feel it's that serious, because they can, um, track your phones by using these stingrays, which basically like tricks your phone into believing it's like an actual signal and all this crazy stuff. But um,
wow.
yeah, they already have those things, and it's like super scary. D says they've been using geofencing for decades and it's been amped up and being used by ICE. And, they've already handed all of our information over to ICE, our medical information. Doge came in and freaking ransacked everything.
Hmm.
I was like, what do we have anymore? We don't even have the rights to our own data anymore. Like, it's so inhuman
Yeah,
what they've
absolutely.
done. Like, it's a violation of our lives and of our privacy. And it's just, it's that's already done. You
Right,
can't take that back.
right. And God
So,
knows what's going to come of that in the future. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what are they doing with
mhm.
this stuff? What is he
Yeah,
doing with all of this information?
right.
Wow.
That's the scary thing. We don't know who has
Yeah.
it. We don't know whose hands it's in, and
Yeah.
there's really nothing we can do about it except go through every, email in every medical office and say that you want to opt out of
Yeah,
data
right.
sharing, but still that's only, there's still certain things that they can look into. So,
Yes. And there's all
yeah.
sorts of things. Really, every single thing that happens, because I have a Fitbit, right? I got to move it over to
Oh, me too.
Google. Yeah, you have to move it over to Google. Did you do that yet? I haven't
Hmm.
even done it
Yeah.
yet. By February,
Yes.
I think I have to do it
Oh,
because it's almost
yeah, I
coming.
think I did.
So now, yeah, exactly. So this is all like, so everything can be monitored, like all, and it just makes me think of RFK Jr.,
Yeah.
this whole thing, because he was talking about that. That was one of his proposals, was to
Oh
be able
my
to keep
God. And
tabs
then,
on people, like through their health
yeah,
and how they're exercising and all these things. And you're like, for what? What do you need that information
exactly.
for? Yeah,
But that's the type of stuff they did in Germany with those people. And so, my son is
yes,
autistic. So I'm like,
yes.
you don't need to
Oh,
know shit about my child. You know what I mean?
right, right, right.
You don't need to know that for what? What are you gonna do?
Exactly,
Put them all in a camp or something and,
exactly.
program, we're not doing MK Ultra 2.0 like with autistic kids and people with disabilities. It
Mm-mm.
just can't happen. And that's why
Yeah,
that's why we have to fight. That's why
yes.
this can't continue the way it
And
is.
I wanted to ask you, did you see what was written on Chrissy Nome? I saw all of these images on the podium. That it was that phrase, one of yours. What was it? It's one of ours, all of
All of
yours.
one of ours, all of yours. Hmm.
Disgusting. Like what?
It's disgusting.
Like
But,
how could you be so brave? I mean, like you, because I heard you say this in your other live where you're like, I'm really not surprised. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that, but for whatever reason, maybe we kind of do have a little bit of the catastrophizing, and that's why we're not surprised. Even though we try not to give
yeah,
into it, right? But that, I was like, oh,
it's just
wow.
in your face. They
Oh,
literally do
wow.
not care.
Yeah. That really, I mean, there's only a few instances that happened to me, like where my jaw's literally on the floor. 2016, when they announced that Trump won, and I was sitting in front of the screen, like, I swear to God, I
Like,
think it
there's
was like
no
another
way.
20 minutes. Yeah. I was
Yeah,
like, am I
yeah,
dreaming? I was like, it was really late. I remember. I was like, this can't be real. This is some fucked up timeline,
I
because,
know.
and then I got duped again because I was convinced that Kamala was going to win. Like I was like, there's no way this thing is going to get in, no way.
So
And
was I.
then when all of this stuff that again it happened, it's like they got me again, So that
And I
and
worked
then
there, so
that,
I was pissed, like, "Why?
yes,
Why? How?"
exactly. I mean that
Yeah,
whole thing is
that was a
just,
rough time.
oh my god. But to see that printed on the podium, I was like,
It's just
oh
blatant,
yeah, it's like that
and,
community punishment. Yeah.
the entire world has been pretty much told the same lie about America that we have, so there's so many people in countries that just don't get it. Like, they just don't get it. They don't get the situation that we're in. A lot of people, like in Ghana, for instance, a lot of,
Mm,
like, their history in school, at least in the past, they didn't talk about Hitler and Germany and things like that, so they don't
no.
really know, certain things, and so I just think it's important that they understand those things so that when they see these things, I don't know if they would show this on the news in Ghana or wherever. I know they have Fox News out there, which is crazy because they
Mm,
propagandize everything. It's like, why do you need Fox News in anywhere in Africa? Like,
I
it's
did
so
not know
messed
that.
up. Yeah, I just found out like a month ago. I was like, you've got to be freaking kidding me.
Wow.
Um, but yeah, when you
Yeah.
propagandize all of that stuff and then, you've got people from other countries, if they understood what that meant, I feel like it would be a lot more impactful because
Mm,
I keep
mm,
telling
mm.
people, like, I've told my friends, don't come here for college, don't come here to visit, don't come here for anything because it's dangerous for brown and black people right now.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
this country doesn't deserve, like, right now, there's no point. Like, right now, you might get arrested at the airport. Right now, like, you have to worry about your life. Like, it would just be so stupid to come to this
Yeah,
country. And I don't know how many people do or don't realize that. But those white supremacist sayings, those uh,
yeah,
defend the homeland with, like, I don't know if you've seen them, but on LinkedIn, is just so bizarre to me because, like, LinkedIn, it's for jobs and all of this stuff, and then you have DHS and Homeland Security posting pictures of Uncle Sam saying "defend the homeland," and
right.
it's just, and then, oh my gosh, I don't know if you've seen it. I watched live TV, and there's a commercial for with Chrissy Nome. I think it was like in the news maybe a while back, but she's, basically saying, this is an airplane, and if you're an immigrant, this is where you're headed. You're
I
headed
did see
home.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's just like, it's
I hate
so
that movie.
sick. I'm like, do
Oh my
people
god.
realize like we are in a movie right now? Like, this is
Mhm.
crazy that this is being blasted on our screens, that we're seeing Christy Nome's face at the airport. It's like, I don't, I can't, we got
Yes.
to get rid of it. We got to get rid of it.
Oh god. Oh my god. And you know what else I'm worried about, which we could probably talk about this if you want, like in our next
Yeah,
parsing through the
yeah.
madness. One thing that I'm really alarmed by is Nick Fuentes and this Groyper situation, like with
Hmm.
these young males that do you know Adam Mockler? He's affiliated with Midas Touch. He's young, 23 years old. He's brilliant, and he's
No.
like a political pundit. Right, he's in Chicago, as a matter of fact, but he's part of the Midas Touch network. And he just did a jubilee with he was debating uh, a bunch of college student conservatives. That's what it was.
Okay.
I mean, I'm telling you, it is bleak. I'll send you the link so you
Yeah,
can
I'll
see
have
what
to
I'm
see
talking
that.
about. I was like, oh, this is bad. And so I don't know what the percentage of these young people are that are in this anti-Semitic, like white nationalists. Like no matter what
Mm.
skin color they have, even somebody that looks like they're ethnic or they have, like a Hispanic background. And I'm like, in yours, first of all, Nick Fuentes is half Mexican. How is he a
Right,
Nazi?
exactly.
Like, you know what I mean? Like there's stuff that you're just like, oh my God, like what?
Are you okay?
And
Yeah.
he doesn't, yeah, and he doesn't seem like, and I don't think he's an idiot. See, that's another thing that's even more crazy is that these people, like, I think he's educated. He
Yeah.
sounds educated to me. So, like, what the hell is that? It is crazy. See, then you start to get into ideology. Then
Right.
it's the ideology that people can't let go of, and that's more of a psychological thing, possibly. Maybe he
Yep,
grew
and
up
then
like that.
psychopathy, and then you wanna know about their brains. Yeah, they need these people need to be studied. I keep saying that. Their brains need to be studied. Everybody in this regime, their brains
Yeah.
need to be studied when they go, because they are wild.
Oh man. Oh, and
They
that's
are wild.
another thing. Now, just really quick, and I should share this with you too, because I don't know. Did you ever hear of the work of Dr. Bandy Lee, Dr. John Gartner? They're
I don't think
psychiatrists.
so. Okay, no.
Man. Okay, so the first thing about this is in 2017, right? I think it was before Trump was going to assume office. Dr. Bandy Lee, and I think she's from Harvard. She's a psychiatrist. I can't remember if she's a professor. Anyway, they put together this coalition and it was called Duty to Warn. And basically, there was a bunch of doctors, but the ones that I know of that have platforms that I watch, Dr. John Gartner, Dr. Bandy Lee, basically, we're going to present in front of Congress, you cannot let this man assume office. Because
Mm,
if you do, this is what's going to happen. He's a malignant narcissist. And, then there was this whole thing about the Goldwater rule that when this was back in the day where psychiatrists were making comments about political officials. And then the American Psychiatric Association, I guess, then put out this Goldwater rule, they called it, where it tied the hands of psychiatrists from making public statements like this, right?
right,
But they were like, to hell with that. We got to say something. And according to them, because my first thing was like, I mean, I guess you could assess from afar. You would think, because I'm not a doctor, you would think you would have to have a patient like in your office and you have to personally examine them.
right,
According to these two doctors, no. With certain things, it's actually more accurate to observe from afar, especially from these kind of personality disorders. And they have thousands of hours of film on him. So they
of
could make
course.
an assessment. So, of course, he's a malignant narcissist. And everything that they said, and I mean, it's chilling. It's chilling, the stuff that they said. What ended up happening, they were going to present in front of Congress, but then the American, the Psychiatric Association got involved and they were like, no, you can't do this. And then it ended up like they put the kibosh on it and they never were able to. But they have been making videos and they've been interviewed by Anthony Davis. He's part of the Midas Touch Network and he's done interviews with them. And those were really great interviews. There were times where Anthony Davis, Dr. John Gartner was explaining to him the psychopathy that Trump has. and the malignant narcissism and his sadism and why he's doing this stuff. Like, because Anthony's like, I just don't understand how somebody, he's like, first of all, you have to remember he's not like us. He's
Yeah.
not at all like us. This is a personality disorder. And he's like, and the thing that they were trying to tell Congress is if you let this butt in, he's not going to get better. He's going to get worse because
Mhm.
of the megalomania. They called everything. Everything they said would happen, happened. Like about invading other countries, about all this stuff. I mean, they said it from back then.
Wow.
Nobody listened. So yeah. And now Dr. John Gartner has a podcast with another psychiatrist, and I always forget his name, and it's called Shrinking Trump. So that one, I don't know if they're still doing it, but I have to look and see. I know,
Okay.
I love the title. I love
But
the
I'm sure
title.
I can go
But
back
I'm
and
gonna,
watch old episodes or
yes, I'm
listen to
gonna
old
send
episodes.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're really, really good. I mean, they have the receipts and they explain because a lot of, you can't think of them as normal people. These people are not normal. Like they don't have like empathy. They don't have, um, the things that he does, the cruelty, all of that stems from this personality disorder.
Mhm.
And Dr. Bandy Lee said, which is really interesting to me, once, and I'll never forget it. She said, because there's a very common trope that are like, these people were always racist, the people that follow him, the band supporters, right? And that's, to me, that's very things that I tend to think are kind of more reductionist and very simplistic, drive me crazy. And that's one of them. Like just
Yeah.
this blanket statement, everybody's racist,
Yeah.
Not necessarily. I know that there's a lot of them. I know that I believe. But according to Dr. Bandy Lee, then when she said this, she said, what he is doing, what's very dangerous for a personality disorder like his, and I always say too, people like him are very rare, like Jim Jones. Thank God they're
Mm.
rare. But I liken him to somebody like that. So, and she did actually mention him. But basically, she says that kind of personality disorder can spread their symptoms onto the masses. So then Dr. John Gardner added, it's not that these people were like him, they became him because of like how he galvanized them and
You
that,
rubbed off, basically.
yeah. And then she said, you remove him, we get our people back. I was like, oh, come on, it can't be that simple. She says, yeah. She says, if you remove this cancer, that our people, I'd be like Invasion of the Body Snatchers? Right? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, yeah. I
You
mean,
know,
it's worth a try.
I know,
Worth a
but I was
try.
like, wow. And that's infuriating because they've been talking about this for years and nobody listened.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to listen. Mm-mm.
And I wasn't woke back then. I wasn't woke. I didn't wake up until
Right.
2018-ish when I started
Yes.
being like questioning everything.
And
Like,
paying
this isn't
attention.
normal. I'm not in politics, but this sounds really crazy, you know?
Yeah. That's what did it. And I think if there is any kind of a blessing, it did cause us to pay attention or cause a lot more people to
Yes.
pay attention now, which we always should have
Yes.
been, because I go back to Nixon, Reagan for sure about why we're here at this moment.
Yes.
And during that whole time, a lot of people, especially America, hyper consumerism, just take a credit card, go shopping, have fun, have a good time. Don't worry about us. Nothing to see here. We got this
Mm.
covered. It was like that kind of sentiment,
Yeah.
like with the
Yeah.
government. But now, not anymore. Now, see, that's another thing. I feel like people are paying too much attention. And,
In
like,
what
how
way?
are they going to, like, just in general, like with all this stuff with Mike Johnson, like with the ACA subsidies where they wanted to blame the Democrats. And people are like,
Okay.
yeah,
Like, that doesn't
what?
make any sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Whereas before, they probably would have had an easier time, like
Mhm.
pushing that narrative even further. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
There's a spotlight on their ass. We're watching them.
exactly. And
I'm
this is why
watching
we're
them.
here too. And
Yeah.
look, I have like my squeezy because ever since
Oh,
sometimes
I
we
love
talk about
that.
stuff, I have to, yeah, it's a peach. And then I have like,
Yeah,
I
I've
have
been
to
thinking about getting
squeeze.
something like that.
Yeah,
Okay.
you need
I have
help,
to look into that. Yeah,
especially
I
when
need a
you start
squeezy.
talking about certain things. Yeah, you need to get your frustration out.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man, but we're nearing toward the end though. Is there anything that you wanted to share, like closing thoughts and stuff before we
Oh
close out?
gosh. I mean, closing thoughts, just, like I've been saying to everybody, it's just this is our last year. This is our last year
Yeah,
to try to prevent whatever legislation they're going to try to push to gerrymander or, to interfere with the elections, whether that's taking away mail-in ballots, whatever it is, like they're trying to do the thing, and this is the last year that we have because if they succeed in that, we're not going to have free and fair elections from here on
Mhm.
out for a very long time, and we're already like so many decades behind in how long it's going to take for us to fix what's going on. So I just want people to understand, even though it might seem like we're kind of doomsdaying, there is still hope. It's not completely over yet. We do still have some checks and balances, even though they're falling through, even though they're failing, and even though those checks and balances might be yes men in the Supreme Court that are giving them carte blanche. But we still have a chance before 2026 is over, before we have the midterm elections. So fight, do what you can, write, just protest, speak out, share these lives, share live news. And I mean, not live news, but share, real news, real independent
Mm.
news,
Mhm.
topics and things like that that we're talking about that other people aren't talking about, because we just want to make sure that everybody is awake and aware. And the more that we know, I truly believe that like knowledge is the greatest power, and the more knowledge that we have and the more we understand what's happening and history, the more we can figure out how to tackle the thing and get the hell out of this nightmare that we're in right now. So have
Exactly.
faith.
Yes.
Little mustard seed, but have
And
faith.
that's why I really vibe with you because you're realistic, but at the same time, you don't want to be a doomsdayer. However, having those things top of mind, I feel like lights a fire in you even more to get to
Yeah.
work,
Mhm.
So I feel like that could be used as inspiration and fuel, which is what we need, like moving forward.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I loved this. So I can't wait to do another one like this with
Me
you.
too.
Like,
Me
yeah,
too.
because there's gonna be no shortage of, topics that to talk about, and you
Well,
guys
we could
in
probably
the
go on every
chat,
day, literally.
oh my god, for real. And then everybody in here, I love, like, you guys are so active, like, all talking to each other in here, I love it. Thank you guys so much for
Yeah, I
joining and
appreciate
for
you guys
spending.
joining.
Yes. So, I'll post a replay afterwards, and, if you guys wanna share, like Natasha said, and, like, restack, all of that, it really, really helps. Thank you so much for all the hearts. And we will see you next time. Bye,
All right, take
guys.
care, everybody. Bye, Lisa.
Bye. Bye, Natasha.